What's up, Middle Georgia Dog Pound, and welcome to another episode of the Middle Georgia Dog Pound Live National Championship Edition. Cannot believe we're here, guys. How are you guys doing?
Great.
Pumped up, man. Pumped up.
Well, I'm your host, Brian. This is Kevin and the Four Finger Wonder, Mr. Matt. Gonna have a great short show for you guys tonight. Got a great guest on. So excited to have him. Before we get into all of that, a little housekeeping tidbits here. If this is the first time that you've been on the Middle Georgia Dog Pound live show and you're on Facebook, we want to hear your comments. You can comment on YouTube as well. But if you're on Facebook and you want us to see your profile and your name, go to StreamYard. Thank you. StreamYard/Facebook and give StreamYard permission to share your comment. So, guys, let's get into this thing. Great game in the Orange Bowl. Great turnout by our dog fans and a mighty great win for our dogs. I know you guys are excited to talk about it. So let's get into this thing.
Key safety for the Wolverines is in there. On first and goal, Bennett to Bowers. And Brock Bowers scores, and Georgia draws first blood.
At the top, watch the safety fight, hesitate, wait, and by the time he reacts, Hawkins cannot get there.
Mix and match is working very well. McIntosh is going to throw it. Lobs to the end zone. Caught. Touchdown. Mitchell. Take it to Haskins. McNamara wanted to take a shot downfield, and he'll get swallowed up by the pass rush. Nobody open. 7 in the red zone. You fake the reverse, and he's swarmed by Dean. It took too long to develop with number 17. Backpedals, scrambles, heaves downfield. It's caught. Jermaine Burton scores. Amazing tonight.
So the safety goes to the middle of the field, so it's one-on-one, and there's pressure, but he does a good job of getting up. Watch 4, he just kind of gave up on him. I just can't figure out why. I don't know. Stetson Bennett, somebody's feeling pretty good when we're in 13.
And McNamara creates something here to make this deficit less imposing. 4-man rush, ball is out, and it's intercepted. From bad to worse. Darian Kendrick going backwards to midfield after the pick. Jackson, a sophomore, thanks, Halleck. They somehow spotted that as first down. No idea how. McNamara escapes pressure, but not for long. He is hammered from behind by Trayvon Walker. McNamara launching for the end zone. A jump ball, and it's the second interception from Darian Kendrick. Those guys tonight. Corum did not, and lost the ball. It's on the ground, and the Bulldogs have it. So 2 interceptions and now a fumble. These third and short play dogs need one. Bennett looking to throw for it under pressure. Hammered, but he lofts it out to Cook, who collects it and sprints for a touchdown. What a homecoming night for James Cook.
And watch the job that Mitchell does, walling off a defender just to be safe, kind of boxing him out, not letting the other backer, Ross, catch up.
Great game, guys. Great game. I know you guys had a few things that you wanted to point out on our film. But before we did that, I want to go over a few stats with you. Our offense score, we had 521 yards of offense in this game, which is just unbelievable. I think that's probably the most that we've had all season. Bennett had 313 yards in passing, went 20 for 30 with 3 TDs. Zamir White had 54 yards on 12 carries, and I'd be remiss if I didn't point out that Dejon Edwards had 4 carries. The longest carry was 31 yards. He had a total 38 yards on the night. Of course, James Cook just balled out, 4 catches, 112 yards. And then Jermaine Burton had 1 catch for 57 yards. He had the longest catch of the night. And then, of course, Bowers, our tight end, 5 catches for 55 yards. And our defense had 4 sacks, 7 tackles for loss, 2 interceptions. Nolan Smith and Nakobe Dean led the way with 5 solo tackles. And, of course, Darian Kendrick, the defensive player of the game, with 2 interceptions. What you guys take away?
Go ahead, Kevin.
I think this is what we needed to show after the Bama game. We came out, Stetson balled out, after all the hype in the media about how we needed to change at our quarterback, and he came out and threw dimes all night long. I think he made one bad decision all night long that could have been picked off, but wasn't, and we were very fortunate there. But that was it. He kind of trusted his legs when he needed to. And we busted off what was like a 25-yard run, and he made Aiden Hutchinson look like a little high school player. I mean, this is an All-American that's probably going in the first round, and he made him look like a high school football player. And that's what Stetson does with his legs. And he you could tell he prepared for this game, prepared well. You could tell the whole team did. And another thing was that our defense showed up. And this is the defense that we've been seeing all season long. And I said it last week, we need that defense to show up that we have seen in the first 12 games. And, buddy, they showed up and showed up big.
Yeah, they really did, Kevin. You're right. I think the game plan we had put together was really good. And we'll go ahead and, give some. I think he just posted down there. I think Doug John, our guest last week, said he called it. He called it that James Cook was going to have a big game, and he really did. So good foreshadowing there with that, bud. Offensively was hitting on some good points. Stetson, came out and stayed in the pocket and threw the ball even under pressure. That's something we haven't seen a whole lot this year. So those defensive linemen, linebackers were getting some pressure on him, but he stood in there and took all kinds of shots that night, but still got the ball out there. And all those long, deep passes, because he hung in there, was tough and took that impact. And the defense played great. I mean, the defense that, like I said, we were all questioning for a few minutes after the Alabama game, but ultimately, look at them. They got 4 sacks. That offensive line was supposedly the best in the nation. They only given up 10 sacks in 13 games, and we got 4 of those in one of our games. So how incredible is that on the big stage in the big game to show up and really cement themselves as one of the best defenses, that we've ever had, if not that college football may ever see, maybe at some point, if they can finish it out this coming Monday.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree with you. I felt like Stetson made 2 mistakes in the game. One, I'm not really sure was his mistake. It was more of the 2-minute drill there before the half. I feel like we left points on the board. And when we get into talking about the national championship game, we cannot leave points on the board. When you're in the 2-minute drill, you got to get in field goal range and score. But I wanted to point this one out real quick to you guys. See if I can show you here, but you'll notice on this running play before Bauer scored the touchdown, if I can get it to play here, that we missed an opportunity to score a touchdown right here, and Stetson's got to pick this up. Let's see if I can get it to forward up here. Right here, when they go into motion, look at this hole right here, guys. This massive hole that he's got to snap the ball before they get in place. And then furthermore, Zeus has got to keep his head up to see that hole is there and hit that gap instead of cramming into the pile there. He missed that opportunity. That was an easy touchdown right here if he'd hit that. And then, of course, I felt like Todd Monken called the game of his life, guys. I don't know if you noticed this, but watch right here. Let's see if I can back it up just a hair. You'll see Brock Bowers line up in the tackle position, and this quick set, the defense had no idea. He's right here in the tackle. Of course, our other tackle's pulled over here. So the defense had no idea that he was going to jump out and be an eligible receiver here. So great play call by Todd Monken, and couldn't have been more impressed on his play calling and his keeping us not going one dimensional, and we were able to do some magical things. And I pray and hope that we'll have that same scheme going forward. Matt, I know you said you wanted me to show another block here. What was it that you wanted me to show?
Oh man, I forgot for a second.
Was it Chambliss's targeting?
Oh yeah, Chambliss targeting. That was completely garbage. No offense. I mean, and at least they called it both ways. They didn't call any pass interference this entire game. I'm not sure if someone just said, "Hey, don't call any of this in game," because it was on both sides. Don't get me wrong.
I hate these plastic commercials.
Don't get me wrong. It was called, but we had pass interference that we didn't get called on us, and they had some that didn't get called on them. But some of them were so blatant, like the hold on Burton was insane. Had a whole handful of his jersey. The guy was Superman running the wind with the wind pulling him backwards. It was crazy. But I don't understand what that was about with all those line judges that you had. And I know we talked a little bit about the reffing core that was going to be there and what conference they were from. But that was crazy. Some of the calls. This call was
the refs did a pretty good job overall, other than the line judge. He did not call any pass interference either side of the ball. So.
Yeah. But yeah, this was, no offense. I'm not trying to be a homer, but this is nowhere near a targeting call. I don't understand how it even gets. First of all, replay all year long across college football has been trash. I don't understand. We pay people six figures to sit in the office to review, or don't even try to review some of these replays that we're getting. And when they do review it, they come up with this kind of garbage. I don't understand it. This is what we teach kids how to tackle from peewee ball, and hit them, put your helmet on their, in their chest plate and wrap up. And he did all of those things. And don't start telling me he's launching when you see his feet are on the ground when he makes a tackle. And so it's just, I'm sorry, I'm not going to ramble on too long with that. That just was insane. But I love the reaction that I got, and I'm glad, I'm glad he got that experience to play. I'm sorry it was short lived. I'm gonna look forward to watching him play for many years with Georgia. He's just a freshman, but that's just kind of discouraging for him to get out there and play and get a couple of plays in before he gets out for targeting. I think the targeting ejection rule is dumb in the first place. I think if you do it for the first time to get a penalty, it's like a normal penalty, but then like a personal foul, but you get a second one, then yes, maybe ejection, because it shows a repetitive history. But one time it's just dumb. They got to change that rule.
Totally agree.
How about the play with the Jamar Sawyer putting Aiden Hutchinson in the dirt when Stetson went on that scramble out to the sidelines, and he just face plants Aiden Hutchinson into the ground. That was pretty awesome. I think our viewer Dave Flanders put that on our page earlier in the week. That's pretty awesome.
Even Pickens throwing that cornerback down, that was awesome.
Yeah. Definitely everyone put forth their best effort, I felt like, with this game. I felt like that we did not have any lackadaisical play from anyone. Everyone was maximum effort, and I pray that that's what we'll have in the national championship.
Yes.
Before we get into our special guest, I wanted to play one more video for you guys. This is what it's all about right here, guys.
We love you, man!
I love that. This shows these guys are out there supporting their team and supporting their quarterback, and couldn't have been more proud for the guy, to be completely honest with you. Well, guys, let's get our guest on here. I'm so excited to have our special guest on this week. Former player from the University of Georgia, Bill Krug, number 42. What's up, Bill?
Hey, Brian. How you doing?
Doing good. Glad to have you on, buddy. So excited to have you on for our national championship preview show. Bill, I got a video I'm going to show you. Take you a little bit back in time here.
And a few pounds ago, too.
Here we go. Yeah, I love that, Bill. I love that that strip right there at the end and taking it in for the TD. How good did that feel, man?
It felt good as I was running. It felt bad when I had to walk all the way back down the other end because they blew the daggone thing. Yeah.
I was gonna ask. I was gonna ask you about that. I didn't see when I looked up your stats. I was like, I don't see the TD. What happened? So I was gonna ask you what
The
happened.
official blew it dead. I mean, yeah, it's okay. I still won the Defensive Player of the Week for Sports Illustrated for that game anyway, in spite of not getting credit for the touchdown. So
Good stuff. Good stuff. Bill, tell us a little bit about yourself, man. Where are you from? What brought you to UGA? How did this all come about?
I'm from the Washington, D.C. area. I went to a private Catholic school in the southern part of the D.C. area in Prince George's County. And I was really blessed to have played with a great group of guys in high school that on a team that never won anything. They were just doormats. And when I came in, it wasn't me. We just happened to have a lucky stretch where a bunch of great athletes came to the same school. And so we started playing better notch teams. And we always played this team called Georgetown Prep, which was out of Montgomery County. And they were always a powerhouse. And luck as it might have for me, and I guess in a way you could say for Georgia, one of the players on that team was Wally Tereshinski, whose father is Joe Tereshinski Sr., who was an All-American back in the 40s and played for the Washington Redskins and settled in the Washington area. And he turned out to be the recruiter for the Georgia team. And he always would end up recommending different players to Coach Dooley. And it turned out I played with his other son, Joe Tereshinski Jr. and Wally at the same time. And then we had a guy named Steve Davis who was on the Eastern Shore. Now, I do not know if we called him Shag, if Shag was recruited by Mr. Tereshinski or not. But there was actually 4 of us from Maryland on the Junkyard Dog teams of that era at the same time.
Your team was the original Junkyard Dog defense.
Correct.
Wasn't it?
I'm one of the originals, and my sophomore year was the first year it came out, and so I'm in the original class of Junkyard Dogs, and blessed, truly blessed to be able to say I am, and to have played with a bunch of fantastic teammates. But I want to say one thing about that is nobody seems to remember. Junkyard Dog referred to the defense. When it originally came out, it was not the team nickname. It was the defense because we were so small in size. And Irk came up with that with another alumni. I think it was D. Matthews, if I remember correctly, down there in South Georgia. They came up one summertime session of a few brews and came up with this nickname and phrase. And the offense kind of was jealous. So Bill Pace, the offensive coordinator, came up with his little thing for the guys at the last minute called the Mad Dogs. The Junkyard Dogs, we had our T-shirt that Irk had made up for us. So Pace made up Mad Dog T-shirts for them. But the Georgia people, by the second game of the year, one had nothing to do with Mad Dog. So the rest of that sophomore year of 75, we were all known as Junkyard Dogs. But I always like to tell people that was really the defense.
Absolutely. Tell us about the All-American team you made there, the Playboy All-American team in 77. How did that come about?
Well, be totally honest with you, I didn't even know that they even had an All-American team until one day I came into the Coliseum for for spring workouts, and I got a message to go see Coach Dooley. Of course, that's usually not a good sign. Thank the Lord, I've only been called up there twice, and one of them was not a good one. That was when my father passed, and he had to tell me that my father had passed. And the other one was this experience was to tell me that I had won the honor, given the honor of being on this team, and that Mr. Beavers would give me everything I need and the itinerary for it. And they flew you up. You flew into Chicago, and then you took a bus. You had to go meet some at this place in the airport, and then we got on a bus and went out to Lake Geneva, Wisconsin, at that time it was a Playboy resort, which was nice. I will say it was nice. You can imagine a lot of things. It's not always what you think. Sometimes it is, but not always what you think.
So my dad sends a question. Says, what year was it for the Junkyard Dogs?
75, 6, and 7 were the original group. It started in 75.
So tell me about this young fella right here in this photo.
Oh, you don't want to know that story. That's a joke in my family.
Gotcha.
You see this trophy behind me? That's the DC's touchdown club player of the year. I was the prep player of the year for the prep schools.
Gotcha.
And you see how everybody else is dressed, and see how I'm dressed.
Yes, sir.
I was supposed to have a black tux. They paid for the tux and everything, and my father did not go with me to get my tux measurements. He wasn't really happy when he found out, but I said, I'm not going to wear an old man's tux. So I decided to go with that tux, not realizing what it was really supposed to be like. A bonehead high school kid.
That's a good story. That's Ronald Reagan and Gerald Ford there, right?
Yep. And there's a Supreme Court justice in there. There were some serious big name politicians. You had like that guy in that picture to my right. That's John Cappelletti, the Heisman Trophy winner from Penn State.
Wow.
And then the kid next to him was actually not a high school kid. He was like a grade school. He was chosen the touchdown for boys club, like in the DC area, Oh, go back to that picture real quick. Just the only reason why I say that.
This one right here?
Yeah, the telegram. Do you recognize that? You did. I told you look for something.
Mm-hmm.
Did you look for it? Last line.
Yeah, Will Dooley.
Bill Dooley, Vince's brother. That came from North Carolina. I was recruited by North Carolina, so I had both Dooley brothers recruit me at the same time. I just wanted to see if you guys noticed that.
Yeah, I saw it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. Tell me what it was like being coached by Vince Dooley and Irk Russell.
Oh man. Oh, everybody. Vince is legendary. I mean, as is Irk. Irk in a lot of ways because he's so funny, intense and funny. Whereas Vince very reserved. He really isn't as funny. Not that he doesn't have his moments, but always very serious and reserved. And as a head coach of that era, he kind of had to be, you know what I mean? But I will say this. It was Vince Dooley who made me the starter my sophomore year. I didn't start the first 2 games. I played in both the first 2 games. I was behind a junior who ended up being my backup the next 2 years. But he got hurt in the first game. He had a problem in high school with a dislocated shoulder, and he had done something to his shoulder at halftime of the Pitt game, first time we played Pitt. So I played part of that, part of the second half of that game. Then in the next game at halftime, Rodney came up. Bill, I separated my shoulder, but I've got it back in. Be ready to come in any moment. So I played a little bit of the Mississippi State game. But that Monday or Sunday, it was either Sunday or Monday after the game, I was told I was starting the South Carolina game. Rodney was not going to be able to play for at least 2 weeks. And that was the worst thing for him, I guess you'd say, because I had a great game against South Carolina. I had what we called a Dago lick. And a Dago lick back then was a vicious hit. And we used to get stars for doing good things. Individually and team. And so I got a star for that Dago lick. And luck as it may be for me, the Dago lick was right in front of Vince Dooley, 5 yards from the sideline, and I put the fullback out for the game. Didn't come back in the game. I laid him out and everything. And so he even brought it up at the Sunday meeting after the game. He asked me if the guy came back. I said, no, sir. And so I started the next game, which was the Clemson game in the first half. Rodney was scheduled to start the second half. I blocked a punt, which set up a touchdown right before half. And Rodney started in a minute. And my dad had always told me, stay near the head coach and defensive coordinator in case they need to send somebody in for some reason. Just be there. So I always stood near them when I was on the sideline. At that point in time, and Rodney made a mistake. Vince turns to me, Krug, go in there for Rodney. And I ran, finished out the series, come back off. Piver, my head coach, my position coach, tells me Rodney's back in. So Rodney goes back in, screws up again. Krug, go in. So this went on for like 2 games. I got the first half. He got the second half. He screw up. I go in and replace him by Dooley. And then finally, Pirate said, you're starting from now on.
Awesome.
Yeah,
I think I read somewhere you ended your career with 13 sacks. Is that?
I probably had more than that, but that's what I'm credited. Because I know South Carolina gave me credit for 4 in my junior year. Georgia never gave me credit for 4. The only reason I know that, I thought I had 4, is South Carolina said something to the newspaper my senior year. Why were y'all so ineffective to do when it came to running? And the guy, one of the running backs, says, well, we practice 50 to 60% of our time just to block damn 42 because I was getting in the year before so much. And they rolled out that year. They rolled out, and the back stayed behind. He wasn't going to let me run the quarterback down from behind. So I kept getting blocked, and I could have ran him down from behind. But I finally did get one. I did get one in that game, but it was frustrating for a long time in that game. But, we had a great team concept, and Irk knew when to call what plays if he needed pressure. And more often than not, it was the outside blitz, which was me and Jeff Lewis from the other side, blitzing from the outside.
And during that time, you played the rover position, which now is what, the star, similar to
Yeah,
the
it
star
would be the
position?
star. It would be a star. We didn't. You only had three traditionals. We called it rover. Other teams would just say strong safety. You know.
Right.
But I played it different than what my position coach originally designed it for. And I give that credit to my freshman coaches, Buzzy Rosenberg. You remember that name? And Mike Estranis Jr., not senior, junior. They were my two secondary coaches as freshmen, and they taught me my style, which was very unusual at the time. And I learned it from them as a freshman and said, I'm going to play this way. And so I did. And I got lucky that style worked well for us and everything.
Well, Bill, I'm so happy to have you on. When I think about our prior players, I think about the legacy that our players have left behind that built up to the next team, the next championship team. So I think about your team and how that you guys laid the footwork and the groundwork for the 1980 championship team, and I thank you for that, and I thank you for the hard work that you and the dedication that you took to be in that on those teams, knowing that you see the outcome of your hard work in the years to come. You don't see it during those particular years, but we do appreciate you being on, and definitely want to get into the national championship preview. I know Mr. Kaki's already sent you a question saying, Bill, how are we going to stop Bama? So we'll get into that, John. Let's go ahead and run that. Let's run that game trailer. Y'all ready? Let's do it.
Georgia, the whole night through, manhandling Michigan, dominating them from start to finish, and booking that revenge tour matchup with Alabama in Indy.
We got a special opportunity, okay? And do something that nobody can ever take away from you. Nobody can ever take it away from you, man. There, I need you to hear me now. Our best is still left out there. We got an opportunity to go play a really good football team in Indianapolis, and we got all these people over here behind us, and we know they're going to be in Indy with us. So we're bringing all the Dog Nation with us.
Let's get into this thing, guys. What do you say? National Championship 2022. Knew this was going to be a special season. Been telling you guys all season long that we were going to be here, and here we are playing for the national championship one more time in 4 years. It's hard to believe, but we got a few unfinished business to take care of with these Bammers, and we got to somehow turn the tide and get over the hump and win this thing. Going to be in Lucas Oil Stadium, 8 p.m. Monday night. Right here is your officiating crew. I tried to do a little research on this Dwayne Height. Saw a few negative comments from a prior Clemson game. I think maybe he is a University of South Carolina graduate, and the Clemson folks did not take kindly to him. But apparently he officiated the Orange Bowl in 2020, and I think he officiated the Rose Bowl in 2017, I believe. But I didn't see anything negative about those two games, so I would assume that he calls a pretty fair game. Like I said, other than unless you're a University of your Clemson fan, knowing that you got a University of South Carolina grad calling your game. So hopefully we'll have good luck with this officiating crew. I felt like I said, the crew last week did a pretty good job, other than the line judge missed several pass interference calls. Here's your guy. I found a photo of him. So there you go. So if he screws up, you know who to hate, right? All right, guys. A few players that we know who are questionable. John Mechie, we know he's out, torn ACL, right?
Yep.
Chris Owens, he is the right tackle. He is questionable, ankle injury. So the gentleman that came in for him was Amari Kite, who is a sophomore, and I believe he played in the Auburn game, and they beat him like a drum. And then we've got Emil Ikor. I don't know how to pronounce his last name, but he is the right guard. He's also questionable with a shoulder injury. J.C. Latham, the freshman. Now he's a good guard, but obviously they solidified that offensive line when they made those changes before the SEC championship. So look for our defense to rain havoc on this J.C. Latham guy. He's a true freshman. And, of course, Josh Jobe, you guys know he didn't play in Cotton Bowl, missed the Cotton Bowl for turf toe. He is doubtful to play this game as well. He's the cornerback, probably their most experienced cornerback that they have on the team as a senior. And then Jalen Armour-Davis, a junior cornerback, he is questionable as well with a hip injury. So I don't know that he's going to be in. So you're going to see the Kool-Aid McKinstry. He's taking the snaps for him. If you watched any of that Cotton Bowl game, Kool-Aid struggled, and I hope that he struggles a lot with our Georgia offense. Well, talk a little bit about what it's going to take to win this game. I'm going to ask John because I know that Mr. Akaki wants to know ask Bill because I know Mr. John Akaki wants to know how we're going to stop Bama. So, Bill, take it.
Be honest with you, our front seven's got to get pressure. That's the easy answer, but it's honestly the best answer. Not because our back end is weak. We've had 13 games now. They are what they are. They're not as bad as they appear to be because they've grown up and they've got tons of experience under them. They were trying to do some new wrinkles last time and they blew the wrinkles. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, is what Kirby was saying. They had busted assignments. So I just know they are primed and ready, especially the front seven. Front seven, which is the heart of our defense, feels embarrassed, and they should be. I don't think they were really that bad, but they didn't get as much pressure as they normally did. And you saw what happened in the Michigan game. When they're motivated, all hell's going to break loose.
Yes, sir.
And I honestly think they're going to bring it. They're going to bring it, and I'm looking forward to seeing what they got this time. And I understand if I were in Bama's shoes, I wouldn't want to be seeing Georgia again. Absolutely would not, because it always is harder to beat someone 2 times in a row.
Absolutely. Matt, what you think, buddy? How are we going to beat Saban?
So, and I'll echo exactly what Bill said there with our front seven. There's a completely 180 turn before we saw against Alabama in the championship game and then the Orange Bowl. How they just they constantly were in that back. They were pushing back. It was almost like a QC at practice. Those guys with those sled dummies that they just grab and push back. That's how it was. They were pushing that offensive line back like they were nothing, and that's what we didn't do against Alabama the first time. We were for some reason trying to play this. We're going to create this wall and kind of trap them in there and not really apply the pressure. And then our like Bill was saying, our cornerback just got beat. So it was very different than we normally do. So I think to me is our coaches have to set up the best matchups out there. We cannot allow a mismatch is how we get beat. We can't allow our linebackers to get caught up with these wide receivers like Williams and stuff. We need to make sure we keep those cornerbacks, those safeties who have the speed and who have the tackling ability to stay with those guys and apply that pressure. Because a lot of time when we were able to get those 4 sacks is because, and it's a credit to what he just said, those quarterbacks and those defensive backs had grown up, and they were having great coverage, which allowed that quarterback to hold that ball longer than he should. He got that one run, initial part of the game, and that was the last time you saw him run that ball. He started getting hit. He didn't like it. And so we can't allow those big gaping holes like we did last time with Young to be able to just run the ball free if he doesn't have open receivers. We got to collapse that stuff on him, just like Auburn did. They just collapsed him. They played that man-to-man press. They had the right lineup, and they put the right cornerbacks and the right receivers, and they were able to dominate that front seven.
Kevin, what you think, buddy?
Yeah, well, I'm gonna flip sides. Bill and Matt, they covered the defensive side, and that is a big obvious that's what we got to do there. On the offensive side, we've got to establish our run game, and we've got to keep William Anderson out of the backfield. Everybody wanted to talk about the defensive end for Michigan, and they shut him down. That's what we've got to do with this guy for Alabama. We've got to shut them down and not let them in there and let Stetson Bennett run his game just like he did with Michigan, and let him get comfortable in the pocket, slinging the ball. Because when he's comfortable, that's when he performs the best. And we've got to get some of our other playmakers, not just Bowers. We've got to get Pickens involved. We've got to get these other guys that are getting back healthy. We've got to get them involved. We've got to have 4 to 5 guys that Stetson can throw to that can get open and make big plays down the field. I think if we do that on the offensive side, I think we can run up the score on them and hang right there with Alabama.
Bill, in the SEC championship, Stetson was 2 for 13 on third downs. How do we overcome that in the national championship?
Well, I was reading that and thinking about that. One of the things I think we need to do is not be so predictable. Georgia typically run first down, want to get 4 yards, 5 yards, 6 yards, so they can be in short, and they can really use play action at that point, whether they want to play action for a bigger play or whatever. Personally, don't worry about second down. Get the first down yardage you want any way you think you can get it. If you think you can run it, fine, by all means. But surprise them from time to time, throwing it on first down. Could be quick outs. Could be whatever. Monk has got a very creative. I think he needs to spread his passes out. We can't always be Brock Bowers oriented. And I love the guy. Nothing against him. He seemed to be the only person who worked well against him. But we've got as good a receiver core as Bama does across the board. We need to use more of them.
I agree.
Yeah.
I love that point you brought up, throwing on first down, because I wrote this down and I was going to bring it up when I got to this question. Stetson is 17 of 21 on first downs, 207 yards with 2 touchdowns and 1 interception. And then all other downs, he's 12 of 27 with 137 yards. So you're exactly right.
Somewhere I thought I saw that and I was saying, "Oh my gosh."
Yep.
Yeah.
So
no wonder, and Bama knows those stats. Trust me, they know it.
And then Stetson's 4 against Michigan. Stetson was 4 for 7 again with pressure in his face for 138 yards and with 2 TDs. And against Bama, when you had pressure, he was 5 for 15 with 60 yards, 1 interception, and 3 sacks. So we got to keep that pocket clean. And I think having Jamari Salyer and Warren McClendon there in the tackle positions, especially with Jamari being healed up, I think it's going to make a big difference. What's your thoughts there, Matt?
The best way to improve on third down is not to have third downs.
I love it.
Let's get first downs and 2 plays. If we want to help that statistic, let's do it. Let's be 0 for 0 on third downs because we move the ball at the first 2 plays in on every series and we score touchdowns every time. I rather just that's my way of solving that problem. But yeah, no, I think it is. I think it's the play calling. They're going to have to get him comfortable fast. I think he can't be scared. I don't. I think now, since it's going to have that mindset that it's all or nothing. It all has to go on the field. You can't leave anything in question. No more running out of bounds because you're scared you're going to get hit. All year long he didn't do that, and all of a sudden the Bama game he was running out of bounds. I guess he wanted to prevent from getting injured. Don't get me wrong, but back again in Michigan, he was making those cuts back in the middle of the field. He was staying in bounds to get those yards. I think he needs to have that same kind of mindset of Bama. This, you never know, and I'm going to speak to. I've never played collegiate football, but you never know when your last game is going to be.
Mm-hmm.
And so, do you want this if this is going to be your last game, putting on the red and black? You want it to be where you gave it everything that you had, and so it just that's just my thing. I think we're going to have to just let him be as comfortable as he wants to, and we're really going to have everybody. I mean, the ceiling shouldn't have been the Orange Bowl game. The ceiling that can't be the ceiling. We have to play even better than that next game. Yeah. And I'm kind of with Kevin. If maybe our defense doesn't have the greatest game like they did, they have, let's outscore them. Let's just outscore them then. Yep. Who cares if it's 55-52? If a W is a champion, is a championship. 1 point more is all I care about.
Yep. So David Freeman says, I agree with Bill. We got to win first down. When we are efficient on first down, our offense is extremely efficient. And then he also says, I feel like Jermaine Burton is going to go off in this game. Could be. I
like it.
What you think, Kevin?
Well, I think we need the Stetson that was there for the Michigan game. This kid, he stayed in the pocket when he needed to stay in the pocket, and he took big hits. I don't know if anybody else saw him, but me and Brian saw him. This kid took some massive shots, especially that one when he threw to Cook for a touchdown. He took a hammer. But when he didn't have a play down the field, he took off running. He trusted his legs, and he picked up the necessary yardages. And he picked up several first downs with his legs. And that's what we got to have out of him is –
and only made one bad decision when he scrambled. Right. He threw that ball in the middle.
Yeah, I don't know why he felt like he needed to force that. He should just threw it away and lived and fight another day because he almost made a really, really bonehead play. But every quarterback has those moments. It doesn't matter who it is. You can look across the board. Across college football, every quarterback makes bonehead decisions. It's called being human. Everybody's human. Everybody's going to make a mistake. But this kid had the game of his life in Michigan, and that's what we need now is another game like what he had against Michigan. And I think he will be fine. He just needs to get comfortable, trust his guys around him that they're going to take care of him. And when that pressure comes, if he's got somebody open, throw it. If he doesn't, take off running.
Bill, are you concerned that Bama gets in our head when we play them?
Let me address one thing real quick. I'll get to that. I want to say something that endorses what Matt said about first down. And I thought about it while he was talking, and I wrote it down so I wouldn't forget it. And I don't know if they do this, but teams do a lot of stats. They follow the stats. And I wonder, does anyone do the stats on first down blitzes? That goes along with what Matt had said regarding first down. Throwing it on first down, there's almost probably, I would bet you 90% chance they're not going to blitz. And if it is a blitz, it's what we call a run blitz. They're blitzing right up the gut to stop a running play. That's all I need to say about it. That's why passing on first down can be so successful and a lot more so than maybe second or third down. Sure. So I'll go on to that question. Do you remember the Georgia-Florida game in '76?
That was the year I was born there, Bill.
But that was one of the greatest. That was the infamous 4th and dumb by Doug Dickey. Cost him his career at Florida. And in that game, and I thought about this in a lot of games, even as bad as we played the first game in the SEC with Bama, defensively we weren't playing great there, But we didn't play good in that game either. We were in like a trance, sort of like what Michigan was. And what you need to come out of that trance is a big play.
Yeah.
It doesn't necessarily have to be a defensive big play to wake up. You just need a big play. Otherwise, you will never flip that switch and your game, you're just going to keep going along and Now to get back to, and that's what I say, when we played in that game, and this is the reason why I brought it up, Florida knew we were going to beat them. They already had it in their heads because whenever, and this had been going on for long before I even knew about the Georgia-Florida game, they had never even won an SEC championship. That every time they came up, and Spurrier was the last year before when he was in college, had an excellent chance of winning their first one, and he lost to Georgia. That's why he hates Georgia so much, because he had the first chance at doing it, and they lost. In that year, they actually they could have lost to us and still won the SEC. They lost the next week again to Auburn, which at that point handed it to us. So they were so far ahead of that's how bad you can get it. We got in their head so bad because they knew whenever it came down to that if we turned the switch on and it was over. And when, we, as bad a first half as we played, we were only down 2 touchdowns in that game. We come out, we get the ball, and Goff runs us right down the field, and we score a touchdown. Now all of a sudden it's a 1-score game.
Right.
And they went for it on 4th and 1 on their 39.
Sounds like
and that's Johnny Henderson makes the great tackle on the pitch. And off and running we go. They didn't score a point the second half. That juiced the defense even higher than what Ray did in the first drive. But that really took it off. And then the game was over. They knew it was over at that point. He was stupid. He should have punted and hoped he could get the game mojo back, but he lost it. So, yeah, I have to admit, Bama has that feeling. Now, that's Bama. That's not Georgia necessarily. That's Bama feeling that way, that they've got that over our heads. And it's only if we allow it to be that way.
Absolutely.
And I think this group of Georgia guys, they aren't going to let them have that. We just played a bad first game, and they got lucky enough to hit us at the right time. Our guys are going to be ready. If they beat us, they're going to beat us because they're the better team, I think, this time.
And I don't think that's the case. I don't think.
No, I don't either.
Well, we're at the portion of our show, guys, where we talk about our keys to success. So, Matt, I'm going to let you take it, man. What's our keys to success?
All right, so here's my rant. Y'all ready for this?
Go for it.
All right. So, and it's kind of a prolong of what we just heard from Bill there. They are in our heads, and I don't mean the players. I mean they're in the fans' heads now. Playing this Bama team, doesn't matter which year it is. They are in our heads that we are just expecting, for the worst case scenario. And I don't know why it's that way. Even when I first felt, very optimistic about the SEC championship game, and then y'all guys convinced me that we were gonna win the game, and we were the better team. We just didn't show up that day, and so I kind of got back into my area again. I'm like, man, I don't know what's gonna happen Monday. I really don't, and I'm sitting back here in my chair now. I'm all like leisure, like this is how I'm gonna watch the game on Monday because I just don't know what's gonna happen. I believe Georgia has the talent. It's more talented than who's going to be on the other side of the field in Bama. I think we got the better skill players. I think we got the better talent. We got a better drive and a better, everything we have is better uniforms. I mean, we across the board are better than them. But somehow in the back of my mind, we're going to find a way to just fumble the ball. I mean that, symbolistic and maybe realistic. Who knows? And so I don't want to be disappointed. So I'm very guarding my heart towards this stuff. But I think, and honestly, if we come out with the same passion, and I mean this for both our players and I mean for our fan base the next 4 days, days it is left, with passion and encouragement, I think we can carry over that win that we had and bring it to this game and just keep going. It'll be like the next quarter. We will just continue the next quarter. Instead of starting a new game, we will continue that passion to the next quarter, and it'll be like nothing ever happened. And that eventually we will fulfill the Corso, prophecy. Even though I'm not a big fan of Corso, that and I think even just this side note, I'll be quiet. I think even David Pollock said it before the season started that Georgia would lose to Alabama and would win national championship. He said that 14 games ago.
Mm-hmm.
And so for a Georgia fan, a guy who played with us, to say that makes me really think that maybe that's going to be our legacy, that we had that hiccup. It didn't matter. So I don't know what the key to success is. We got to show up.
Yes,
because even we have the best players, sometimes you still lose. And so it's ultimately just going to be, once again, relishing this great season we've had, because gosh knows if we'll ever see something like this again, a defense as dominant as this and a team with all the things that happened, plagued with injuries. Other teams folded with their injuries they had half the injuries we had, they folded, and we just kept going and getting better and better. So what a great season it's been. It's not over yet. And so I'm just looking forward to the game. But I'm going to be I'm just going to sit back and wait until that last second ticks off and we have one more point than them. That's how I'm going to be.
0-0-0-0. Kevin, it's your turn, buddy. Go for it.
Wow. Is there anything else left to cover after that four-finger wonder rant? Well, mine are very simple. I got 4. It's a lockdown, Jameson Williams, and make him a non-factor. If we can do that, take that weapon away, will be a big advantage to Georgia. We have to prevent turnovers. Michigan, we did not have one single turnover. Michigan had 3, and we saw the outcome of that. Turnovers are huge. If we can win the turnover battle, I think we'll come out on top. We must pressure Bryce Young. That's my number 3. We must. We've got to get back there and make him uncomfortable in the pocket. Because you saw what he can do is if he stays back in the backfield and just has all day to throw the ball, he is going to pick us apart. We cannot afford to let him stand back there and just let that pocket be his home. We have got to get him uncomfortable. We've got to make him nervous. We've got to put him on the ground and just pressure him. Even if he gains on us, we have got to make him uncomfortable. He cannot sling the ball down the field like he did against us in the SEC Championship. My number 4 point is the team that played Michigan must show up to Alabama. They have to. We need that same defensive fire that we saw against Michigan, where they got after their quarterback from all angles. They came up the middle. They came off the edge. Every way, if you can't get him up the middle, you better get him off the edge. You better do something. You better bring 5, 6, 7, 8. It doesn't matter. You've got to get to the quarterback to make him uncomfortable. On the offensive side, we need that same offensive fire that we saw against Michigan. Stetson has got to be on his game. These receivers have got to catch the ball. We saw several drop passes by Fitz. I know I went back and watched it, and I saw 3 drop passes by Fitz. That is unacceptable. If that ball is thrown to you and it's catchable, you better catch it. I don't care what you got to do. You better haul it in. So those are my points to win this game.
Bill?
Okay, I just was writing down a few things. On the offensive side, we need to spread the ball around. Don't and use our tight ends. When I say that, I don't mean Brock Bowers. Not for him not to get any catches, but he is not to be the only tight end that we throw to. I think Darnell Washington can do some serious damage. Also, Fitz is also equally as good, but Darnell has a few extra gears that Fitz doesn't have. And we need to be patient on the offensive side under pressure because they're going to put us under pressure. And that's to be expected of a great team. They have a great team. Just need to be patient with yourself. And I think everything will work out on the offensive side. I really think because of the mojo we've got coming into this game, that's going to be critical. Now go over to the defensive side. It's pressure, pressure, pressure. Bryce Young, I've watched him play in a number of different games, does not like pressure. He has happy feet. He is not as accurate when he doesn't have a lot of time to make a decision. If you give him the free time to throw it, he'll pick you apart. But he does. That's why Auburn was so successful and all against them. That's why Texas A&M was so successful against them. And they played a lot of games there where people got pressure. I don't know why we didn't get – I just think our defense was in another world. And I've been that way. I've played in games like that, unfortunately. Maybe I needed more coffee that morning. I don't know, to wake up. But I honestly think these guys will get the pressure.
Well, Beverly Carter says, Bill, you beat Bama in your day. Mentally, is today's UGA team prepared to win as your team did?
That's my sister.
Mm-hmm.
She ought to know better than to ask that question. Absolutely. Give a shout out to my big sister. Yes. I honestly think they are ready. They're drooling, especially the defense. But I also think the offense is too.
Yep.
But the defense is absolutely drooling. Defense wants them. We're like us, the Junkyard Dogs. We wanted, anytime we lost anybody, we wanted revenge. And when we played Alabama in '76, we didn't have any revenge factor with them, but they were Bama. They had won the national title the year before. We knew the SEC title went through them. We wanted them. And so they're like us in that respect. They're drooling for this. If they're ready, they should be drooling at the mouth for it and everything. So
good deal. Well, I got 4 myself, and I try not to talk a whole lot because I do too much talking as it is. But I'm going to tell you, I agree with Kevin. We got to get consistent pressure on Bryce Young. We got to pound him all night long. We had Jamison Williams at the line. We got to make sure we take him out of the game. I know that Alabama has other receivers that can make plays, but dadgummit, make some plays then. If you're going to beat us with somebody else other than Jamison Williams. And I already touched on this. We got to win on third downs consistently on both sides of the ball. We got to win on offense on third down, and we got to win on defense on third down. And then finally, I'm hitting on what Kevin said a little earlier, that we've got to get Pickens involved in this game. We can't throw to him one time and expect to have success on offense. We've got to get him involved. He's our playmaker, and we've got to get him involved in the game. Well, guys, I don't want to run long, and I promised I'd try to keep this thing under an hour, but we're already over, and I knew that was the way it was going to be. But nobody wants this championship more than this team, and more than you, Matt, and more than Bill. I guarantee you, these players want this championship more than anybody else. And I heard an interview with Nolan Smith this week, and I just had to get it in the show. And here you go.
Nolan, I was wondering if you could take me back to kind of the end of the SEC championship game. And I know you guys have talked about it being a wake-up call and being humbled, but what was your emotion after that game? I mean, what were you feeling once the clock hit 4 zeros and that one was in the books?
You want to know the honest to God truth? I cried. I've been playing football. I'm 20 now. I've been playing football since I was 4. 16 years. I haven't won anything. I haven't won a championship. I won a couple bowl games, but anything big, any championship, I never won yet. And that's one thing that keeps me going. That's just something in the back of my head that I know that keeps me driving. I just want to win. I could care less how it gets done, how pretty it looks. I just want to win and play ball. I mean, 100%, to be the first since the drought. I think, I tell people you'll be a Georgia legend. No matter if you're from the state of Georgia, outside the state of Georgia, you'll be a Georgia legend. And we came here to be legendary, be special, leave your mark. Like I always say, I want to bring my kid back and tell him this is what I did. I want to leave my mark. I just don't want to be another University of Georgia player.
So, guys, final thoughts? Anybody?
I'm glad you covered that, Brian, because that was going to be my final thought. So I have none now.
Well, guys, let's be legendary. Let's go out there and take this thing to the house one more time. I'd love to come on here next week and have a national championship under our belt, every season out of it, and brought home the natty one more time for the Dogs. What do you say? Can I get a go Dogs?
Go Dogs!
Go Dogs!
I love it, Bill. Thanks so much for Bill Krug, guys. Number 42, Bill Krug on our show. Guys, I appreciate you. Love you. Sign up. Send us an email. We'd love to hear from you. MiddleGeorgiaDogPound@gmail.com. Win that natty. Go Dogs.
Go Dogs.
Go Dogs. Beat Bama.
Thanks, guys. That was a lot of fun.
It was. Thank you, man.
Thank you.
I guess
Thanks so much for-
I guess we'll post the predictions on the page here later.
We ran out of time.
Still live, Brian.
No, I ended. Oh, I thought I
No,
ended.
it is.
No,
Hey, everybody.
I hit end, but it